a huge part of my life, pursuing the accumulation of wealth. And then you hear the phrase from you, which stopped me in my tracks, which is inflation is theft. And it didn't make sense. Like, it wasn't that I disagreed. It was that I couldn't make the sentence make sense. And I realized that I always thought of inflation, and we're going to get to answering the question around what is money, why Bitcoin is useful, all of that. But to me, to attack that head on doesn't work as well as talking about why inflation is theft, because I had mistaken it for a fundamental property of nature. I just never thought beyond that inflation exists and it's roughly 2% a year, and that is what it is. And then I encountered Michael Saylor and him talking about hyperinflation. I was like, wait a second, what? Because I literally told my money manager, I want to be as close to my money buried in the backyard as humanly possible during COVID, right? Because I didn't know where that was going to leave us. Why is inflation theft? And maybe what is inflation?
Yeah, it's I don't think you should feel bad not understanding it at the outset. I actually have argued in some of my writing that it's a euphemism. You know, the idea of economic inflation sounds wonderful. You want your house to become more valuable. You want your portfolio to appreciate. You want things in general to go up in dollar value. How they actually do that, though, is very important. You want them to be value producing assets. Inflation, though, and this is a word that really gets twisted because it's got a lot of different meanings. Do you mean price inflation? Do you mean inflation of the money supply? And the way, when I use the term inflation, I like to refer specifically to arbitrary increases in the supply of fiat currency. So what's happening in that instance is that the actual unit of perception we're using to value assets, the dollar, is being diminished.
And fiat currency, for people that don't know, is just money backed by the government.
Fiat currency, the word fiat means by decree. So this pretty much means because I said so, under the veiled threat of force. And yeah, it is, you know, this gets a little bit deeper into the history of money, but the dollar originally was issued to make gold, which was money selected by the free market, more convenient, to make it more portable, make it more transactable. Very difficult for us to settle in physical gold at every transaction, right? So if you abstract that gold into paper, it makes it much more convenient.
All right, really fast, because I think these are important pieces to put together. So you said very quickly that gold was what the market had decided on.
Yes.
Why?
That's a deep rabbit hole. We can go, that's the what is money question. Yes.
Yeah, I think we have to at least define what it is that made the market select gold and for thousands of years.
Let me answer the fiat piece and then I'll go back to the gold. So we abstract gold into paper to make it more transactable, more convenient, faster, and more portable, frankly, which is one of the properties of money we'll get into about gold. The problem is you end up trusting the custodian. So you put all your gold on deposit with a custodian that then issues the paper that's redeemable for the gold. And over time, this becomes the most alluring source of power for governments or anyone that can command force. They want to control that source of economic power because it's a call option on everything, which is one of the definitions of money, by the way. So you go from a full reserve currency, where each dollar is redeemable for 1 unit of gold, to fractional reserve banking, where there's an excess of paper beyond what the gold reserves can justify themselves, to post-1971 is fiat currency, where it is not redeemable for gold whatsoever. So one answer for what is fiat currency, it is an irredeemable government debt certificate undergoing slow motion default via inflation while its use is forced on all of us. One answer for what is fiat currency, it is an irredeemable government debt certificate undergoing slow motion default via inflation while its use is forced on all of us, on free economic actors. No one would ever voluntarily hold a fiat currency. Why would you ever choose to hold a money that someone can arbitrarily diminish?